I give you 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
Gloria, I want to ask you about this, and I mentioned this to you when we talked about it separately. Like Boris Johnson, he was very, very against this idea of the Super League. You had Seferin, who was again calling these people snakes and liars. UEFA, these domestic leagues are threatening to not allow their players to play internationally or again in the league. If the Super League were to happen, like, do you think that's just a bluff, or do you think they're actually going to pull through with that threat and not allow players to just play if they're going to go along with this idea?
I think if it were UEFA, they would have followed through. And just judging from like the way I heard like fans and commentators talking about this, like I forgot his name. I think it was Gary Neville. I heard him talking and I
Right.
heard him straight up saying like, you know, knock these teams down to the bottom of the table, like take Man United and Liverpool and put them down into like a relegation battle, find them, do such and such to let them know that like they really messed up by doing this. So I think from the English side, they definitely would have followed through, just because there was like so much kind of like community anger and almost nationalism behind like their like hatred of the Super League and this feeling of betrayal by these clubs. So
Yo, huge props to Seferin. I keep thinking it's Seraphin. Seferin. This guy basically went to war against these people. He said, no, it's not happening. And he even had, like we said, close friend of his basically keeping everything a secret from him. Theoretically, a voice for all of Europe's clubs in the governance roles, a close friend, was feeling the strain of being essentially a double agent. This meeting has been upgraded by the host and now includes unlimited minutes.
Hey,
Okay, I like that. I like
Hey,
that.
I just got
Brooks.
that notification too.
That's
Right.
tough. Okay, I was about to say then we're probably running low on minutes here. But
Live from Zoom, they just blessed us with a lot of time. So we'll see what
Okay,
happens from
okay.
here.
All right, okay.
Say no more. Say no
Still
more.
a snitch platform, but okay, Zoom.
Right. But so basically, this dude, he was a double agent going against his homie and keeping all these things under the wraps. But you know, that's how they get down any type of politics, anything, politics and sports, politics and anything. It's always going to be some double agent activity going on, some snake activity, as Seferin referred to it. With the signatures of Chelsea, Man United, Atletico Madrid in hand, the founding members were set to go. Financing delivered by the Spanish advisory firm Key Capital Partners and backed by American bank JP Morgan Chase, as Brooks was pointing out. They were about to make big bank. So now that this fell through, who gets the biggest backlash? Is it Man U, like you were saying? You know, you had Neville, the former captain, going in on his former team, also played for Liverpool. Who gets the brunt of this backlash?
I think it's gonna be, well, I mean, I think it's gonna be Man United, and obviously, you know, again, being upfront about the fact that like they're the ones that I'm following the most in all of this. But also Liverpool and Arsenal as well. I definitely think that the 6 Premier League teams that backed out are gonna get the most kind of like just flack for all of this, just because it was really it was such an overwhelming amount that it was one of the things kind of forcing them to really get the hell out of the Super League. But I think the reason why I say Man United and Liverpool and Arsenal specifically is just because they're incredibly like historic clubs as well. So their history is like intertwined with the history of like England itself, and these clubs are like Man United is far older than Man City, and and Liverpool and Arsenal as well. They're very historic clubs that also have ties with their local communities. And like something like the rivalry between Liverpool and Man United, that's something that goes back to the early 20th century. So I think because these clubs, these three clubs specifically, have more history behind them, then it's going to feel like more of a betrayal on the fan side, and because of that they're going to get even more backlash. And I'm taking that from Gary Neville's commentary as well, because he specifically pointed out those three clubs as well, saying, like, kind of echoing these same sentiments, where it's these three clubs specifically that should be ashamed because of their history.
Right.
The main
And
one that I think,
go ahead,
my
Brooks.
fault, Pedro. The
No,
main
go
one
ahead.
that I can think of from like Germany is Bayern Munich. And of course, like I was just listening to a podcast earlier, and they were mentioning how like in the German leagues, like the actual citizens, the actual fans, they have like a big stake in the ownership of those teams, and then there's the 51% is from like the rich. Do you think that they decided to pull out of this because of the fans, or because they actually thought it was a bad idea?
I think it was because of the fans, because like they still went through all of this in secret. And I do think that part of them knew that it was a bad idea, because I can speak for like the English side specifically, where like the fans weren't like kind of the little fan teams or like fan consultants within these clubs, like they weren't consulted during this process. It's like Pedro was saying, like this whole thing was done behind closed doors. So I think because there was such a visceral reaction from the fans, then that was one of the main factors that drove them about it. But I think it was also like what Brooks was saying, kind of kind of like the statements from like Boris Johnson and the UK government, and like UEFA coming in, like really getting set to take action to stop this Super League as well. I think that was also a major deterrent.
Definitely. If I can answer that question also, I agree 100%. Because if the fans weren't out, because one thing that cannot be overlooked is the fact that European soccer, or forget that, club soccer anywhere, it's always going to be more of they're tied in with the community. They're not every club gets lucky enough to be huge globally, right? So, you have specific communities are going to be extremely outraged by that. And if it's not for public outrage, they'll go right ahead and do it. They just don't want to get canceled. They don't want to lose money. That's the main thing on their mind, is money, money, money. And public outrage, if you go against what the public is outraged about, be ready to lose a lot of money. And that's completely against their bottom line. So it wouldn't make any sense. And just one thing I wanted to throw out there, the 12 teams, because I don't think we mentioned this yet, the 12 teams that were going to be in this Super League was going to be Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham Spurs, Chelsea, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and Barcelona, as well as AC Milan, Inter Milan, and Juventus. So those are the big dogs, all the big dogs right there. They were going to team up and basically ruin European soccer for everybody else that's not them.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. Just to think that, what do they even need their own league? It already feels like they're in their own league. Just from, I don't watch too much European soccer, as much as I used to, at least. But one thing that I know for sure is that outside of those teams, I would say 80% of the people in this country have no idea who most of the other teams are. So they're already have a huge advantage, and they're just trying to, like Brooks was saying, monopolize and just further separate that gap between everybody else.
It was kind of weird too, because just reading again, like these Super League people, they were saying that they were getting like sources and just data saying that young fans wanted to see these teams band together and actually form a super league, and that just seems like a load of bullshit. Honestly, like
Yeah.
that doesn't sound like something that anybody will want to see again. Because why do you want to see just like, yeah, seeing the top teams play against each other? That's cool enough, but to see them only play against each other, it's just annoying. Like, yeah, you
Yeah.
know what I mean. It's like watching an all-star game. You're gonna get a lot of points. You're gonna see a lot of dunks, but what else are you gonna see? You're not gonna see any defense. You're not gonna see any competition. So why even start an idea? And I think it's because like they just wanted to get like the broadcasting rights and just like monopolize everything. Pedro, we can start with you. Like, what are your thoughts on that
Well, and
idea?
Go ahead, Glory. What were you gonna say?
I mean, I was just gonna say, like, and it takes away like the spectacle of when these teams do meet. Like the rivalry between like Man United and Liverpool, like it's always a huge thing when we meet it. Or like even between Man United and Man City, like the derby. Like I wouldn't want to be having the derby every 2 weeks. That would soil the rivalry. Or like if you have like an El Clasico between Real Madrid and Barcelona like every other week, that would be dead.
Loses meaning.
Yeah, it's like they call it El Clasico for a reason. Like it has so much history behind it. And then to just like take those rivalries and exploit them and milk them dry would is just like it takes away the whole kind of like wonder and like the kind of like grand occasion that it is when these teams do meet.
Right. Yeah. One last thing I wanted to point out here. If I can find it here. Damn, I'm getting lost in my notes, y'all. But basically, long story short, 12 team Super League, all the best European powerhouses coming together and essentially monopolizing what European soccer will look like for the foreseeable future.
Americans kind of ruining European soccer, man.
Americans, you got Russians in there involved as well. And this is a crazy there. Here it is. I found it. This right here is the one quote that stuck out to me more than anything, right? Ceferin, the main, I guess you can call him the protagonist of this story here, the guy who essentially deaded this whole move. He made this one comment that really resonated with me in a weird way, not in a good way, and not really in a bad way because I'm not surprised. But he said even mafia organizations have some sort of code. So that just goes to show how dark and like how deep it gets with these. It's so much deeper than we'll ever know. You know, here we are talking about how it's crazy, how, you know, it's one of the bigger scandals that's happened in the world of soccer. And even then, we have no idea what's going on behind closed doors, like Glory was saying. You know, imagine the amount of death threats, the amount of under the table money that's going on over there. Even mafia organizations have some sort of code. This guy's Ceferin looked at it like, wow, you know, I knew these guys were up to no good, but damn, you know, we're supposed to stick together. And it's almost like it's like it's like elites clashing against each other. It's interesting to see, but I don't know, guys. Your final thoughts on these?
I mean,
on
yeah,
this whole
I'm
on
with
this
you.
whole
That
thing.
quote hits like it really kind of like opens the door to just all the thoughts of like what really happens with the kind of the elites in the sports world, and especially when you do get bigger events that come into play like the World Cup or the Olympics. Like a while ago I did a like just a bit of research into it, and there's a ton of corruption that goes behind that, with them like literally discarding human rights abuse allegations for some of the countries that they're going to be holding these events in. So it just opens up this whole new meaning to kind of how we view like the dirty people working at the top of our sports agencies and stuff. But I mean, at the same time, I still love sports. Like it's this love-hate thing where like I really hate what's going on, but I still can't help but watch the Olympics. So, and I'm definitely gonna watch the World Cup. But like, yeah.
I wanted to ask you this, Glory. This is a tough predicament for sports fans, right? like you just said, we don't like to see stuff like this happening. But when El Clasico is going on, or when Man U and Man City is playing, like how are we not gonna watch? You know, or when our favorite football teams, basketball teams, all the corruption, all the illegal activity that happens, and yet we can't look away for some reason. What is a sports fan? How does a sports fan? What's the middle ground there on standing against what they're doing and also supporting the teams that you like?
I think with that, it's just got to be about like supporting the sport and like the individual teams and players definitely, because you know they're also being affected by like the policies implemented by their corrupt owners and stuff. So I mean, and I don't know the balance yet either, but like I guess my thing in all of this is just being able to recognize that, but still have like a love and appreciation for the sport as like as kind of like, because sports is like this weird fusion of like culture and politics, and like there's a lot of history behind it too. So just because there's so much corruption in it, it's not something that we can just kind of throw to the side or something that we can just ignore, because there's such a rich culture there. So I think it's just about like being able to recognize all that's going on and being able to call that out and support like the individual players and the sport itself first. I mean, it's a bit all over the place, but that's kind of what I would say. And also like sports is, you know, one of my outlets for like all the madness of this world. So like without it, a lot of us would literally, like there's so many people where, you know, our lives could be shitty and we could be learning so much just terrible stuff every day, but but at the end of the day, we'll always have these games to look forward to. We'll always have these events to look forward to. So like you kind of need it as an outlet as well.
Right. And Brooks, I wanted to say something too here. You said that you stopped watching the NFL, right?
The year that Colin Kaepernick was protesting, yeah.
Right. So what went through your mind when you seen all that Kaepernick stuff going on, and you just say, you know what? What was the? Do you remember you just saw the Kaepernick situation and then you just decided right then and there, no more NFL for me?
So it happened really after like a couple of discussions with my father, because he was the first one to tell me, oh, you know what, I'm not going to watch the NFL this year. And you know, that was the thing that he and I did on Sundays. It's like, you know, I'm going to put on a Washington game and we're going to watch it, even though he's not a Washington fan. And, you know, we just enjoy watching football. And that season, Sundays kind of just like went by, you know what I mean? I'd be at work and it wasn't that big of a deal for me. It was really just like the fact that, again, this guy who all he did was kneel in protest of, you know, police brutality and this country not living up to his standards. And for him to not have a job is just ridiculous because of that. So it's kind of just like a solidarity thing and a thing of, you know what, if this guy doesn't have a job, then I can't watch a football game. You know, I'm not going to sacrifice 3.5 hours of my day to just watch people literally batter each other and destroy their brains rather, just for a game.
Right. No, I respect that too, man. I wish I had that kind of willpower, man, because I'm not a fan of the NFL like how I used to be because of the Kaepernick things, because of everything that happened even last year, you know, with COVID, the whole pandemic, and then on top of that, with everything that was going on with the Black Lives Matter, when all that was going on, with George Floyd and whatnot, the NFL just came across as, you know, it's more and more clear the older we get. What do you say?
Disingenuine. That's what it was.
Exactly. The older we get, the more clear it is to see that it's all BS. You know, they'll put whatever on the field, you know, Black Lives Matter. They'll endorse whatever's hot, or, you know, they, like we were saying before, they want to cater to the public so that there's no outrage and so that they can maintain their money, their viewership and stuff like that. And when I see that, I'm just like, I can't support it. But then when the Giants come on, I'm like, damn, I've been a fan for like 10 plus years, bro. Like, what do I do here? It's a really weird predicament to be in. But I think I'm almost with you, Brooks, man. I think next year, man, I'll probably be watching less NFL, man. I can't give them that much of my attention,
I
my
don't
money
watch it
first and
anymore
foremost,
either.
man.
Yeah.
It's
College
crazy. You
football
don't
is
watch it
better
either,
anyway.
Glory?
Nah, I stopped watching it like the same year Brooks did, where I just couldn't, like, I couldn't keep watching it after like what happened to Kaepernick, and also
Facts.
the Dolphins were already trash anyways, so it was easier for me to kind of let them go, and yeah, as well, like the sport was just becoming like, I feel like there were it got to the point where there were other sports that I could watch to get the same feeling as I do when I watch football. Like I'll even watch rugby before watching football, or like I'll watch MMA before I watch NFL, or like, I've transferred like all my NFL energy into going like hard into watching the Premier League. So yeah.
Yep. Well, we went off on a tangent there about football and other sports, but it all ties back into how we feel as fans when we see sports organizations coming together to prioritize bottom lines over the fans that watch them. Back to the Super League in Europe, they were trying to monopolize 12 of the strongest teams in Europe. Let us know what y'all think in the comments about that. Do you guys think that this will happen in the future? Does this make you not want to watch soccer? Let us know what you guys think about that. Any last comments? I'm about to get on a live stream and get up out of here, guys. Any last
Pedro, you go
comments
first
on
then.
this? Say again.
You go first with your final thought, and then me and Glory will go.
Final thoughts, bro. Final thoughts. I think that I respect both of y'all for not watching the NFL. I know I'll get to the Super League, but I respect your guys' decision to not watch the NFL. And honestly, I'm going to try and follow suit because, man, the NFL is so whack now, bro. But anyways, the Super League, it's going to hurt a lot more people than anybody would ever imagine. That's, like I said, a huge majority of the country is going to, or the continent, I should say, are going to lose their teams. Those teams are going to lose a bunch of employees, no more jobs. A lot of people are going to lose. People are going to go homeless off of something like that. People's lives depend on certain jobs. The coaches, the players, the arena employees. All those things are all down the drain with no sponsorship, with no broadcasting deals and stuff like that. All that stuff goes down the toilet. So a lot of people suffer for only a few people to benefit. That is some shit. And that's the kind of stuff that makes me feel how y'all feel about the NFL. I can't give my time and attention to something that's openly willing to destroy a huge portion of the audience, or, the people that depend on those jobs even. So I hope that I hope we could all be optimistic all we want, but in the world of soccer, even mafia organizations have some sort of code. It's never changing. They're always going to be real grimy. They're always going to be doing anything to get that bottom line. And I just can't really support that, man.
Glory, we already gave you your final thought, but we want to get your final thought.
Final thought. Yeah.
All right, yeah. Thanks again for having me. It was fun, and I look forward to coming back to talk some anime. And yeah, I mean, I definitely hope that in the future we see more kind of like fan activism and fan protest, just because I think from there that could be something that really tackles a lot of the corruption and elitism within the sports world. But I mean, that's just a hope of mine, and that's just me thinking like an activist. So hopefully that continues. And yeah, I'm glad that Man United pulled out of that league. So
Pedro and Glory, I'm with you guys. It's great to see fans actually use their power and use their voices to impact something that they didn't like at all. Because again, this was a terrible freaking idea. Like, to have the 12 most popular teams, the 12 most richest teams come together and say, screw domestic leagues, screw Premier League, screw the German league, Serie A, La Liga is ridiculous to me. It just spits in the face of like competition and all that. And my second thought is the fact that this is kind of like American, like greed, American corruption, just like saying F it and we're going to destroy something else. And we're going to say, you know what? I don't care that Man U fans, I don't care that AC Milan fans, you know, they're using their hard-earned money to come to these games to watch us play. You know what? F it. You know, the bottom line is I want more money. And you know, it's like with the protests that Gloria had mentioned, like a lot of I heard one rather that you know, one guy was just screaming about, you know, you guys already have billions of dollars and you just want more. You know, you're just destroying the sport that we love. How can you do this, that, and the third? And I'm with you, buddy. I hope this Super League thing it helps. It somehow like gets better, I guess, because they have 5 spots that they're willing to give away to teams that, you know, quote unquote earn it. So we'll have to see what happens. I feel like it's going to be an inevitability maybe after the World Cup happens, but until then, you know, my fingers are crossed that something good can come out of this.
And we'll see, man. But make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, HMO Podcast, as well as the MCSC Network. Again,
Slow
Glory
News Day.
Jones.
Subscribe to Slow News Today.
Yes.
Slow News Day. Yep. Slow News Day. Make sure y'all subscribe to all the channels. Everything is going to be linked in the description of this video. Glory Jones, thank you for joining us, and we'll talk again soon.
We are out. Bye.
My guy or gal, thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell, and share this video for the latest on sports, progressive politics, and pop culture